Okay, Happy New Year, and welcome to what will be the start of another year's worth of fucking around in the shed. The first video this year was going to be the little green bastard. Sneak preview there. All back together and running. And we actually had it going yesterday, but it became evident pretty much immediately that something really quite fucked with the engine. So this is what's left of the carburetor. So it is a Briggs and Stratton flow jet, a large one-piece flow jet carb, and if you look on top, so this hole here where my thumb's pointing at, that is usually where you have the idle screw goes in. What I'll do is I'll show you the idle screw. So it's kind of hard to see there, but the top of the idle screw is flat and blunt. Alright, what it's meant to look like is this. So if you see on the tip of it now, there's a little pointy little spike. So if I put the two of them side by side, you can see that actually the tip is missing off the original one, and that kind of led us to the problem, which was where the fuck was the tip of it? And the tip of it was actually embedded in the seat, in the which is part of the carb body, and despite my best efforts to try and get it out, it would not come out. So this is effectively junk. Alright, so we were lucky enough that we were able to find a replacement carb off a local repair guy. He had been using it, taking pieces off it to service other people's mowers, but luckily the bit we needed, which was the main casting with kind of all the seats in good condition, and we were able to get that from him. So I took this carb, took the pieces off the old one, put them onto this, set the idle mixer screw and the main mixer screw at a turn and a half out from lightly seated, and the thing started right up. So that means that the problem we were getting was totally related to the carb. So now what we need to do is take this old carb here and give it a proper rebuild with a new rebuild kit. So the rebuild kit in question for the flow jet carb, let me see, I'll show you the wee number on it. It's Briggs and Stratton number 394698. And I mean, I think it also does a couple of other carbs, but this is the one for the one we're fixing today. So right, so we get the box, open it up and tip it all on a table here, and you'll find you have kind of a variation of stuff, and some of the shit here we don't actually need for this carb. So this one, don't need that, don't need this, we'll keep that, keep that. This little green fucker, don't need that as far as I'm aware, and this smaller little valve, we don't need that one either. So what we have here is, just looking through it, so we got a brand new main jet and the accompanying nut that holds the float bowl on. In this little envelope is the aluminium washer for it, so we've got that there. Here is the seal for the float bowl. We've got this boy here, and actually something that isn't included in the kit now, used to be, but it isn't now, is this nozzle here. And the new number, or the number that it was 299740. So you need to order that separately, which is a bit of a pain in the arse, but no bother, we've got it here now. Here we've got the new valve with a little retaining spring, so that goes there with that air assembly. There's a little spring and the idle mixture screw, so they go together, and a new pivot pin for the float. Here a little plate that goes in the end of the carb. You see on this one here, the old one, we actually bashed it out to try and get in and free that busted bit, but it didn't work. So that's, if you need to take that out, you can. There's a new one there for you. Little gasket, And then that there is the boy that goes, as you're looking down at the carb, that seal just goes on the top, makes a seal between the carb and the airbox. So now we've got all the stuff. I'm going to apply it to the carb on the tractor. Right, so now we've got the carb off the tractor. First thing you want to do is take this yoke off the bottom. So that is your main mixture screw. So if you use a 1/2 inch, that's what size it is, and just crack that and wind it out, that whole piece comes out. So it's a screw within a screw. You get a spring in there as well, and a little aluminium washer. So just put that out of the road. Then you can just lift this off. Now, I have the whole thing drained. I've actually took it apart before. Usually when you take that off, there'll be a bit of fuel left over in it. So kind of be prepared to clear up after yourself. So there's the bowl. Put that to the side. So now we've got this off. You can see the float. To take the float off, there's a little pin right here. See that there? So you may be able to get it out with your fingers. You might need a little hand. Just pushing it through. If you have a wee set of picks, or now when you take it out, shit will fly everywhere. So put that to the side. The float should lift off. Set the carb down. On the other side of the float is this wee yoke here. So that's the little valve. So this actually just slides off the tang, just falls off there. Put that to the side. The tang is this little piece here, and you make adjustments to the float height by bending this tang. So there's your wee float. With these wee brass ones, it is useful to check whether or not they're leaking. They do get leaks. So we have actually checked this one. Just got like a little lid off a spray can, filled it full of petrol, and let it float in it. If it sinks, it's got a hole in it. Like, it's pretty basic. Also, another way of doing it is to put it in the lid and hold it down. If any bubbles come up, then it's also punctured. So put that to the side as well. Now the next thing you want to do is remove the actual main jet itself. So these nozzles. Now down there, it's actually a flathead screwdriver is what you need, and you want to get one that's a good snug fit in it, and make sure there's no swarf on the end of the bastard either. So get that down in there and just, oh fuck, should come right out. And it looks like this. Just put that to the side. And then directly opposite it, there's another one there. Same deal again. Just screw it out. It's a slightly different shape. It looks more like a piccolo tube or a flute. It's got a bunch of little holes just there. So put that to the side as well. The other thing to remove then is your idle mixture screw. It's the old one there. And last thing you want to do is take a little pick, and just around the edge of this there should be the old seal, and just put that out of the road. So at this stage you're now actually ready to start rebuilding. So what I would do now is give it a good clean over with carb cleaner, check for any bits of dirt. Really there should be nothing inside this except for fuel and air. So if you find a load of mud in there, it's probably best to get that out the fuck. Another thing you might want to do whenever you've got this much of it apart is take this wee fuel elbow, just take that off, check inside it for any dirt or kind of foreign objects, and also you get a clear good look down there and just check there's nothing in this wee passageway as well. Right. Alright, we start putting it back together again, so pretty much just kind of the opposite of what we did do before. Take this first one, set her down. Super important, check that there's no swarf on the end of these screwdrivers. Somebody thinks it's a fucking great idea to make them magnetic, and I'm sure that's great if you're actually using them to do little fucking stupid screws, but for the rest of us it's just a pain in a fucking hole because everything sticks to it. Screw it until she's snug. Remember, you don't want to be damaging the end of that there, so it's not like a fucking wheel nut, like, you know what I mean? You don't have to go quite so bananas with it when you're tightening her up. Right, next thing in, this wee nozzle. Lovely and shiny. Just insert that in from the top. Put the bottom one in first, then the top one. And tighten her up, and it should be snug as well. Some people make the mistake of thinking that there's for adjusting it. It's not. That should be seated down hard against the body, so should the one on the bottom. Alright, so that's that there. First main one done. Right, next bit is putting the whole kind of float assembly back together. So we start off with the new valve, which goes into this little seat here. But first, with the little spring on the end of it, you take the tang on the bottom of the float and just hook it over like that there. It's a bit fiddly and it's hard to see with that angle, but basically while the little valve is hanging on the bottom of the float, just drop it down into the little hole. Next thing you're looking for then is the new pivot, which is this little plain bar, and you want to put it through the carburetor casting and through the brass float. Now some floats in the later ones are actually plastic, but this is quite an old carb, or bits of an old carb, so it's all brass. Now, how you should know that the little tang that I showed you earlier is set up correct is whenever you press on that there to close the little valve. So the little valve that we've just replaced is sitting in its seat. Looking at it end on, it should be level. That float should sit level with the body of the carb, and it sits pretty nice and level there. So that means it's set up good. Right, the next thing you want to do is get that new seal and just set that in. Lightly press that in the whole way around. It actually sits down into a recess, so check that it is seated the whole way around before you put the carburetor float bowl on. So that's all sitting there nice. Next thing you want to have ready is this little aluminium washer there. Your float bowl, make sure you've given that a good clean out, because most of the shit of the day will settle in the bottom of this. So take your carb, flip it upside down, check that this pin hasn't fallen out, Set that down over the top, and then take the new main jet mixture screw assembly, put that little aluminium washer over the top of it, and just reassemble like so, checking that that's sitting right in the middle where it should be. I'm going to give that a wee nip up. Okay, 100. And then the last little piece, well, almost last little piece, your idle screw, put it in there. Just screw it in lightly for the moment. We'll also reinstall the little fuel elbow. Okay. And then there's also this little seal, or big seal compared to the rest of them, and it just clips over the top there. So that's kind of the whole thing. All the bits of replacing put in. So there's your main screw and your idle screw. What you want to do is screw the both of them in till they're just lightly seated. You don't need to be horsing them fuckers up, just till they're lightly seated there. And then from lightly seated, back both of them out a turn and a half. So there's a half, a full turn, a turn and a half. Do the same on this one. Yeah, so then half, turn, turn and a half, and that's your good start point for setting a carb up. If you turn it like that there, the tractor should start right up. Should be handy. So now we just got to put it back on the tractor and tune it.